The old station clock ticked with a rhythm that felt like a slow, labored heartbeat, echoing against the cold, industrial tiles of Platform 4, where 70-year-old Arthur sat on the same wooden bench he had occupied every Friday evening for the past 7 years, clutching a bouquet of withered daisies that he had bought fresh that morning but now drooped in sympathy with his weary spirit. People rushed past him, a blur of gray coats and glowing smartphone screens, their lives moving at a velocity Arthur could no longer comprehend, for his world had stopped spinning the day the accident happened, freezing him in a perpetual state of waiting for a train that the schedule said would arrive at 6:05 p.m., but which his heart knew would never truly bring back the passenger he yearned for. He adjusted his flat cap, his fingers trembling slightly, not from the biting winter chill that swept through the open station doors, but from the vibration of memories that played in his mind like an old film reel stuck on a loop, showing him the image of Eleanor, his wife of 40 years, waving at him from the window of the departing train, her smile radiant enough to outshine the grim station lights, promising she would be back in time for dinner, a promise that destiny had cruelly intercepted. To anyone observing Arthur, he was just a fixture of the station, a sad old man indistinguishable from the lost luggage and forgotten umbrellas, but inside his chest, a storm raged, a complex architecture of grief and undying hope that defied logic. Because Arthur suffered from a condition that the doctors called early-onset dementia, but which he privately understood as a refusal of his soul to accept a reality where Eleanor did not exist. Every week, the ritual was the same. He would dress in his Sunday best, spray a hint of the cologne she loved, the one that smelled of sandalwood and old books, and walk the 2 miles to the station, his heart pounding with the excitement of a young lover, convinced that today was the day the mistake would be corrected, that the universe would realign, and she would step off the train with her red suitcase and that distinct laugh that used to make him feel 10 feet tall. As the clock hand inched closer to 6:05, the station master, a kind man named George who had watched this tragedy unfold for years, stepped out of his booth, his heart heavy with the burden of the truth he had to deliver yet again. A truth that broke Arthur's heart anew each week because his memory reset like a washed shoreline, leaving the sand of his mind smooth and hopeful until the wave of reality crashed down. "Arthur," George said softly, placing a hand on the old man's shoulder, feeling the tension in the wool coat. "The train has come and gone. Arthur, she isn't on it." Words that hung in the air like smoke, and for a moment, Arthur's eyes, cloudy with age and anticipation, flickered with confusion, then denial, then a shattering recognition that started in his chest and crumbled his posture. The bouquet slipping from his grasp to the dirty floor as the weight of 7 years of loss hit him all at once, a fresh wound tearing open in a scar that never had the chance to heal. Tears carved paths through the wrinkles of his face, hot and stinging, as he looked up at George and asked the question that haunted the station walls. Did she leave a message? Did she say why she's late? And George, swallowing the lump in his throat, performed his own act of mercy, his own hard act, by reaching into his pocket and pulling out a worn, folded piece of paper. A letter Eleanor had actually written to Arthur years ago for their anniversary, which George kept safe for these moments, and handed it to him, watching as Arthur's trembling hands unfolded the paper as if it were a holy scripture. As Arthur read the familiar handwriting, his breathing slowed, the panic subsiding into a melancholic peace, because even though she wasn't there in the flesh, her words, "I love you more than time itself. Wait for me," soothed the beast of his grief, allowing him to construct a new reality where she wasn't gone, just delayed, just a little further down the track than he could see. He sat there for another hour, reading the letter over and over until the ink seemed to blur into the paper, the station emptying out until it was just him and the silence. And in that silence, he closed his eyes and felt a phantom hand squeeze his, a sensation so real he could feel the warmth of her wedding ring against his palm, a reminder that love does not obey the laws of physics or biology, that it lingers in the spaces between seconds, in the dust motes dancing in the station lights, and in the stubborn hope of an old man who forgot everything else, his address, the Prime Minister's name, the day of the week, but could never, ever forget the shape of her face or the feeling of being her husband. Eventually, the cold seeped too deep, and Arthur stood up, his joints protesting, carefully folding the letter back in his pocket next to his heart, picking up the fallen daisies which he would place on her nightstand at home, a home that was too quiet, filled with echoes of a life once lived loudly. He nodded to George, a silent acknowledgement of the shared secret, and began the long walk back, the streetlights guiding him like stars, his mind already beginning to fog over the pain. The mercy of his condition slowly erasing the devastation of the evening, so that by next Friday he could have the beautiful privilege of hoping again, of loving her with a fresh, untainted anticipation, proving that while the mind may fail and the body may wither, the heart acts on its own accord. Writing a story of devotion that repeats endlessly, a tragic but beautiful loop of love that refuses to say goodbye, leaving the viewers of his life with the profound understanding that true love isn't just about being together. It's about the willingness to wait, even when the waiting is all that is left.